Hi, I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's Mystic Minute is all about power. We all grew up with the old paradigm of power, but I grew up in the bastion of old paradigm power. My hometown is Washington, D.C. That's the last holdout of that kind of bastion of power. I have all brothers. Very dominant father. They were all tall white males. The lessons that were programmed into me were those of dominance and directness and warrior-like tendencies. I often say that I came out of that environment more empowered than the other family members because I learned to fight back. I was the only one who successfully could fight back. That's not what real power is all about. That's not what is emerging in the world today. That example of power is what is actually disintegrating. And the people who find their reality by that kind of power, that kind of stuff is disintegrating. And they're having a really uncomfortable time. So I'll have people show up at my meetups who embody that kind of paradigm. And the real reason that they're there is because they're wanting to hear something new. They're wanting the true essence of who they are, which is their true power. They're wanting to know how to let that come through. They're wanting to know how to navigate their life in a different way. But boy, it can be really challenging because they're really challenging because of all the knowledge that they've embodied. And I have to tell you, knowledge is great. Intellectual concepts are great. It doesn't really help you navigate in this new world. The navigation in this new world is improvisational. And really, you can read all you want about improvisation, but unless you actually go to an improv class, you're not going to learn how to do improv. And if you're going to continue to play this game of dominance in the world, it's going to be really, really uncomfortable. It's not working anymore. It's not going to actually get you what you really want. I just had a funny interruption. The dog next door started barking. Now here it is, I'm talking about old paradigms of power. The people next door are lovely people. However, they had a break-in and they got themselves a German Shepherd named Grace. Gracie has grown up to be a huge, unmanageable guard dog. And she lunges over the fence at children walking by. She's loud, she barks, and I find it challenging. I especially don't like being barked at, but I also don't like my office hours being invaded by this dog barking. And isn't this a wonderful example of the old paradigm of power? A German Shepherd, old paradigm of power, and the grace, and what grace is transformation. So we are all transforming our experience of power because we are growing into a greater aspect of power. We are growing into what is true power, the essence of who we really are, which is consciousness. So what is coming up for each of us is our stuff around power. Those of us who were trained in the old paradigm to be dominant, to be aggressive, to be warlike, are finding it really uncomfortable to let those patterns go so that we can receive who we really are. And the flip side of that is letting go of feeling aggressed upon, barked at, dominated, challenged, all those sorts of things. All of that is a lower level of interacting in the world. When you start navigating as consciousness, when you start being the essence of who you are, that stuff dissipates. It goes away. The dog just came up because I was talking about this topic, so it was a really valuable addition to today. And the thing is that will go away. People who show up in my meetups with those patterns embodied, they're really asking for how to release it. And we're seeing marvelous examples in the world today of, how not to do things, how to really mess things up if you act that way. We're seeing things that we're reacting strongly to because it's bringing up the stuff in us that we don't like, we don't tolerate anymore, we don't agree with. We're seeing examples of people who are bridging that power, who are going from that old dominating, warlike way of interacting to the more empowered, owning space, holding space, collaborative, seeing the wisdom in everyone, seeing the power in everyone, holding space on a bigger level. Non-reactive, don't need to react, don't need to resist. And really for me, a level of fun and playfulness about what is showing up in this game that we're all playing. So for me, the highest level of power is to be open, expansive, curious, showing up with a not knowingness about it. Living life at this level is really an art, not a science. So I invite you to be your most powerful, which is your most childlike and playful. See what happens. And if you like these videos, you can subscribe to them on YouTube. You can also sign up below to get them in your inbox. If you want to know more, my website is joan-newcomb.com. I put out a weekly radio show and podcast where we talk about these different topics from an expanded experience of consciousness. I also write a weekly blog and e-zine so you can read more about these kind of things I talk about. I do meetups around the Puget Sound in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, University Place, Lakewood, and Olympia. And actually, I have a new one in Federal Way. So you can come see me in person and we can discuss all this great stuff. And if you want to know more about how to navigate life as consciousness to truly embody your true power, then go to joan-newcomb.com and look at my coaching programs. So go to joan-newcomb.com and I'll see you in another couple days with another Mystic Minute.